ServSafe Manager Domain 2 Exam Questions. Sigwater fish poisoning. Seafood toxin, reversal of hot and cold sensations, nausea, vomiting, tingling in fingers, lips, or toes, joint and muscle pain. Fat Tom stands for food. Acidity, time, temperature, oxygen and moisture. Non-typhoidal salmonella. Symptoms of diarrhea, abdominal cramps, vomiting, fever. Prevent by time and temperature control, prevent cross-contamination, exclude sick food handlers from operations. Microorganisms. Living organisms that can only be seen through a microscope. Food service operations should not use mushrooms unless they have been purchased from an approved reputable supplier. Vibrio vulnificus primary specticemia. Bacteria, found in waters where shellfish are harvested, low-grade fever and chills. Food handlers can contaminate food when they have a foodborne illness, have wounds that contain a pathogen, sneeze or cough, have contact with a person who is sick, touch anything that may contaminate their hands and don't wash them, have symptoms such as diarrhea, vomiting, or jaundice, yellowing of the eyes or skin. Onset time. How quickly foodborne illness symptoms appear in a person. Pathogens. Harmful microorganisms. A food handler will be wearing single-use gloves to assemble boxed lunches. When must the food handler's hands be washed? A. After 4 hours. B. After the first hour. C. After putting on the gloves. D. Before putting on the gloves. D. Before putting on the gloves. Fat Tom. Food, acidity, temperature, time, oxygen, moisture. Staphylococcal. Bacteria, found in hair, nose, throat, and infected cuts, vomiting and retching. Anisakyiasis. Parasite, tingling in throat, coughing up worms. If the food handler has a sore throat with a fever, then restrict the food handler from working with or around food. Exclude the food handler from the operation if you primarily serve a high-risk population. A written release from a medical practitioner is required before returning to work. When washing hands, what is the minimum time you should scrub with soap? A. 5 seconds. B. 10 seconds. C. 20 seconds. D. 40 seconds. B. 10 seconds. True or false? Food handlers must not eat, drink, smoke, or chew gum or tobacco when prepping, working in prep areas, or working in areas used to clean utensils. True. Hepatitis A. Food commonly linked to the virus ready to eat foods, shellfish from contaminated waters. Fat Tom. F. Food. A. Acidity. T. Temperature. T. Time. O. Oxygen. M. Moisture. Salmonellosis. Bacteria, carried by many farm animals, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, vomiting, and fever. The Big Six. Shigella spp, Salmonella typhi, non-typhoidal salmonella, NTS, Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, STEC, hepatitis A, norovirus, fungi. A pathogen that sometimes makes people sick and mostly spoils food. Examples: mold and yeast. Type of pathogens. 1. Viruses. 2. Bacteria. 3. Parasites. 4. Fungi. Non-typhoidal salmonella. Foods commonly linked to poultry and eggs, meat, milk and dairy, produce like tomatoes, peppers, and cantaloupes. Norovirus. Food commonly linked to the virus ready to eat foods and shellfish from contaminated water. Symptoms: vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, abdominal cramps. Prevent by wash hands, purchase shellfish from approved reputable suppliers, avoid bare-hand contact with root food, exclude sick food handlers from operations. How to wash hands. 1. Wet hands and arms. Use running water as hot as you can comfortably stand. It should be at least 100 degrees. 2. Apply soap. 3. Scrub hands and arms vigorously. 4. Rinse hands and arms thoroughly. 5. Dry hands and arms. Parasites. An organism that lives in or on another organism, commonly associated with seafood. How to use gloves. Wash and dry hands before putting gloves on. Select the correct glove size. Hold gloves by the edge when putting them on. Once gloves are on, check for rips or tears. Never blow into gloves. Never roll gloves to make them easier to put on. Virus. A microorganism smaller than the smallest bacterium that has no cellular structure and can cause foodborne illness and are carried by humans and animals. Hepatitis A. Food commonly linked to ready to eat foods and shellfish from contaminated water. Symptoms: mild fever, general weakness, nausea, abdominal pain, and later jaundice. Prevent by wash hands, purchase shellfish from approved reputable suppliers, avoid bare-hand contact with root foods, exclude sick food handlers from operations for 7 days. What is the best way to prevent a foodborne illness caused by seafood toxins? Purchasing seafood from approved reputable suppliers. Food handlers must wash their hands before they start work and after. Using the restroom. Handling raw meat, poultry, and seafood, before and after, touching the hair, face, or body. Sneezing, coughing, or using a tissue. Eating, drinking, smoking, or chewing gum or tobacco. Handling chemicals that might affect food safety. Taking out garbage, clearing tables or bussing dirty dishes. Touching clothing or aprons. Handling money leaving and returning to the kitchen/prep area. Handling service animals or aquatic animals. Touching anything else that may contaminate hands. Symptoms of a foodborne illness: diarrhea, vomiting, fever, nausea, abdominal cramps, and jaundice. Hepatitis A. Virus, fever, general weakness, jaundice. Botulism. Bacteria, found in water and soil, nausea and vomiting, weakness and double vision. Amnesic shellfish poisoning, ASP. Seafood toxin, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, confusion, memory loss, disorientation, seizure, coma. Bacteria, Bacillus cereus. 1. Found in soil. 2. Linked with cooked rice dishes. 3. Produce watery diarrhea. 4. Can be prevented by cooking, holding, and cooling food correctly. Giardiaceae. Parasite, fever, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, nausea, found in infected people. Hemorrhagic colitis. Bacteria, found in intestines, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, kidney failure. Spores. The form some bacteria can take when have lack of nutrients to keep from dying. Symptoms of physical contaminants: cuts, dental damage, choking. Shiga toxin producing E. coli, STEC. Symptoms of diarrhea, eventually becomes bloody, abdominal cramps, kidney failure, in severe cases, prevent by time and temperature control, prevent cross-contamination, exclude sick food handlers from operations. True or false? Bare-hand contact with ready-to-eat food must be avoided. True. Norovirus. Virus, vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, abdominal cramps. Bacteria, Staphylococcus. 1. Produce toxins if grown in large number. 2. Linked with salads containing TCS foods. 3. Produce retching and abdominal cramps. 4. Can be prevented by washing hands. Which pathogen is primarily found in the hair, nose, and throat of humans? Staphylococcus aureus. Shigella spp. Foods commonly linked to food that is easily contaminated by hands, such as salads containing TCS foods, food that has made contact with contaminated water, Bacillus cereus. Bacteria, spore-forming bacteria found in soil, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, infected wounds or cuts. Contain pus must be covered to prevent pathogens from contaminating food and food contact surfaces, while commonly linked with contaminated ground beef. What pathogen has also been linked with contaminated produce? Shiga toxin producing E. coli. Single-use gloves. Should be used when handling ready-to-eat food except when washing produce except when handling ready-to-eat ingredients for a dish that will be cooked, must never be used in place of hand washing, must never be washed and reused, must fit correctly. Virus, hepatitis A. 1. Commonly linked with ready-to-eat food. 2. Found in the feces of infected people. 3. Can produce a mild fever and general weakness. 4. Purchasing shellfish from an approved supplier is on way to prevent. 5. Causes jaundice. Jaundice. A yellowing of the skin and eyes. Which foodborne illness has been linked with ready-to-eat food and shellfish contaminated by sewage? Hepatitis A. Prevention of physical contaminants. Purchase food from approved, reputable suppliers. Inspect food. If the food handler has at least one of these symptoms, vomiting, diarrhea, then exclude the food handler from the operation before returning to work. Food handlers who vomited or had diarrhea must meet one of these requirements: have had no symptoms for at least 24 hours, have a written release from a medical practitioner. Covering wounds can help prevent the spread of which pathogen? Staphylococcus. Parasites, Giardia duodenalis. 1. Been found and produced. 2. Been found in contaminated water. 3. Can produce fever and diarrhea. 4. Can be prevented by excluding food handlers with diarrhea from the operation. A food handler prepares meals for a child daycare center. What symptoms require this food handler to stay home from work? A. Thirst with itching. B. Soreness with fatigue. C. Sore throat with fever. D. Headache with soreness. C. Sore throat with fever. Salmonella typhi. Foods commonly linked to ready-to-eat foods, beverages. Paralytic shellfish poisoning, PSP. Seafood toxin, numbness, tingling of mouth, face, arms, and legs, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. pH. Measure of acidity/alkalinity in a scale from 0 to 14.0. Shigellosis. Bacteria, bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain and cramps, fever. How a wound is covered depends on where it is located. Cover wounds on the hand or wrist with an impermeable cover, i.e. bandage or finger cot, and then a single-use glove. Cover wounds on the arm with an impermeable cover, such as a bandage. Cover wounds on other parts of the body with a dry, tight-fitting bandage. Actions that can contaminate food. Scratching the scalp, running fingers through hair, wiping or touching the nose, rubbing an ear, touching a pimple or infected wound, wearing a dirty uniform, coughing or sneezing into the hand, spitting in the operation. Neurotoxic shellfish poisoning, NSP. Seafood toxin, tingling and numbness of the lips, tongue, and throat, dizziness, reversal of hot and cold sensations, vomiting, diarrhea. A food handler has diarrhea and has been diagnosed with an illness from Shigella spp. What should the manager tell this food handler to do? A. Wear gloves while handling food. B. Work in a non-food handling position. C. Stay home until approved to return to work. D. Wash hands frequently while handling food. C. Stay home until approved to return to work. Clostridium perfringens. Bacteria, found in soil, diarrhea and severe abdominal pain. Fingernails should be short and clean. Viruses such as norovirus and hepatitis A can be spread when food handlers fail to wash their hands. When is it acceptable to eat in an operation? A. When prepping food. B. When washing dishes. C. When sitting in a break area. D. When handling utensils. C. When sitting in a break area. Bacteria, Salmonella spp. 1. Many farm animals carry naturally 2. Found in eggs, putrid, and poultry. 3. Can produce diarrhea and vomiting. 4. Prevent cross-contamination is a way to prevent virus, norovirus. 1. Commonly linked with ready-to-eat food. 2. Found in the feces of infected people. 3. Washing hands prevent this. Keeping food handlers with vomiting or diarrhea out of the operations is a way to control it. After which activity must food handlers wash their hands? A. Clearing tables. B. Putting on gloves. C. Serving customers. D. Applying hand antiseptic. A. Clearing tables. Who is most at risk of contaminating foods? A. A food handler whose spouse works primarily with high-risk populations. B. A food handler whose young daughter has diarrhea. C. A food handler who gets a lot of aches and pains. D. A food handler who eats a lot of rare meat. B. A food handler whose young daughter has diarrhea. If the food handler has been diagnosed with a foodborne illness caused by one of these pathogens and has symptoms, hepatitis A, Salmonella typhi, enterohemorrhagic and Shiga toxin-producing E. coli, norovirus, Shigella spp, Then, exclude the food handler from the operation. Work with the food handler's medical practitioner and/or the local regulatory authority to decide when the person can go back to work. Foodborne pathogens grow well at temperatures 41°F to 135°F, 5°C to 57°C, fungi, mold. One, some forms can produce a dangerous toxin. 2, cannot be killed by freezer temperatures. 3, grow well in food like jellies and salami. 4. Can sometimes be cut away from food. Bacteria, Shigella spp. 1. Found in the feces of the people that are infected. 2. Can cause bloody diarrhea and fever. 3. Can be in feces weeks after symptoms have ended. 4. Can be prevented by washing hands. Fecal oral route. Disease passed from one person who has poor hand-washing hygiene to another person through food touched by the former following stool elimination. Which practice can reduce Salmonella spp. in poultry to safe levels? Cooking food to the right temperature. Write an X next to the task when single-use gloves must be used. A _______ slicing apples for an apple pie. B _______ garnishing a plate with chopped herbs. C _______ chopping lettuce for a mixed green salad. D _______ breading chicken wings before frying them. E _______ assembling a cooked hamburger for presentation. A. Slicing apples for an apple pie. B. Garnishing a plate with chopped herbs. C. Chopping lettuce for a mixed green salad. D. Breading chicken wings before frying them. E. Assembling a cooked hamburger for presentation. Salmonella typhi. Symptoms of high fever, weakness, abdominal pain, headache, loss of appetite, rash. Prevent by wash hands, time and temperature control, exclude sick food handlers from operations. Listeriosis. Bacteria, found in soil, water and plants, high risk to pregnant women. A cook wore single-use gloves while forming raw ground beef into patties. The cook continued to wear them while slicing hamburger buns. What mistake was made? A. The cook did not wear reusable gloves while handling the raw ground beef and hamburger buns. B. The cook did not clean and sanitize the gloves before handling the hamburger buns. C. The cook did not wash hands before putting on the same gloves to slice the hamburger buns. D. The cook did not wash hands and put on new gloves before slicing the hamburger buns. D. The cook did not wash hands and put on new gloves before slicing the hamburger buns. Fungi, yeast. (1) Produce an alcohol-like odor. 2. May look pink or slimy. 3. May cause food to bubble. 4. Any food contaminated should be thrown out. When to change gloves? As soon as they become dirty or torn before beginning a different task after an interruption, such as taking a phone call after handling raw meat, seafood, or poultry and before handling ready-to-eat food. Sources of physical contaminants. Metal shavings, wood, fingernails, staples, bandages, glass, jewelry, dirt, naturally occurring objects. Seafood toxins. Histamine, ciguatixin, saxitoxin, brevetoxin, dominic acid. Water activity, Measurement of the amount of moisture available in a food. Work attire, food handlers must wear a clean hat or other hair restraint. Wear clean clothing daily. Remove aprons when leaving food preparation areas. Remove jewelry from hands and arms before prepping food or when working around prep areas. Managing a personal hygiene program. Managers must focus on the following: creating personal hygiene policies, training food handlers on personal hygiene policies and retraining them regularly, modeling correct behavior at all times, supervising food safety practices, revising personal hygiene policies when laws or science change. TCS. Temperature control for safety. Temperature danger zone, TDZ. Temperature between 41 degrees and 135 degrees where bacteria grow most rapidly. Shiga toxin producing E. coli, STEC. Food commonly linked to ground beef, raw and undercooked, and contaminated produce. Shigella SPP. Symptoms of bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain and cramps, occasional fever. Prevent by wash hands, control flies, exclude sick food handlers from operations. If the food handler has jaundice, then, food handlers with jaundice must be reported to the regulatory authority. Exclude food handlers who've had jaundice for less than 7 days from the operation. Food handlers must have a written release from a medical practitioner and approval from the regulatory authority before returning to work. What should food handlers do after prepping food and before using the restroom? A. Wash their hands. B. Take off their hats. C. Change their gloves. D. Take off their aprons. D. Take off their aprons. Cryptosporidiosis. Parasite, watery diarrhea, abdominal cramps, nausea, weight loss. Bacteria. Single-celled, microorganisms that can spoil food and cause foodborne illness. It is found almost everywhere, cannot be seen, smelled, or tasted, can grow rapid. Hand antiseptics. Liquids or gels used to lower the number of pathogens on skin must comply with the CFR and FDA standards, should be used only after handwashing, must never be used in place of handwashing, should be allowed to dry before touching food or equipment.